Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Tim. Tim is from Los Angeles in California in the USA. So let's see what Tim has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello, Tim.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing today?
I'm fighting a cold since the weekend, but I'm gonna live.
I remember the last time we tried the interview, we didn't have too much good connection, but I believe now you're okay.
I think I'm okay. The weather is clear and dry, and there's no one else at the house today gobbling up the bandwidth.
So how's your day been so far, Tim?
Slow, this is it. It's still early here. Well, okay, it's midday, but I haven't had time to do anything yet.
Tell me, where are you from?
I'm actually from Los Angeles, California.
Born and raised?
I'm home, well, in the suburbs, yes. Not in town, but Los Angeles is a very expansive place.
what what's the best play? What's the best time? Sorry, what's the best of growing up in LA? What do you like the most about the city?
I've been able to explore so many things for my entire life. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a cliche for living in California, but we have desert close by, we have skiing close by, we have beaches close by. It's all of my life at least has been a melting pot. Culture, language, food, especially. I've always been a good eater. I hate it when people are picky eaters. No picky eating in Los Angeles, only adventure eating.
If I would come to Los Angeles tomorrow, what is a
Yes.
place that I should go to eat something unique that this city offers, something special?
One thing you'd have to do is actually go into one of the suburbs, one of the smaller cities that's not the city of Los Angeles, but still in the county region. Monterey Park has been kind of a hub for mostly Chinese immigration all of my life, certainly since the 70s. And it's a very, very foodie place, and all the regions of China especially are there. Dim sum is a hugely successful, popular, important part. So if you like for the carts to just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming and grab the plates and never stop, then that's the place to go. There are some interesting kind of historical places.
Mhm.
Which I'm not always a big fan, but I'll tell you, there's a place in my neighborhood, a little Italian, kind of fine dining, but very casual atmosphere. The guy who owns the restaurant and runs the front of the house came here from Naples, which I have visited. I don't know if you've spent time in Italy, but it's an interesting region for Italian food. Of course, the original Pizza di Napoli comes from that part of the world. And, we're still sort of not venturing out so much. We're post-COVID, right? But I don't want to just go anywhere and sit down for just anything. I want the food to be spectacular. I want the service to be gracious. I want the atmosphere to be friendly. And so that would be my second choice. We have dim sum on Sunday. Monday night, we have Italian.
Amazing. I like the options.
Yeah.
Tim, I know you are an actor, yeah? So tell me a little bit about your career. Tell me the journey, how everything started.
Yeah, I still say I'm an actor on a good day because I don't necessarily have the chance to do it every day. And it's a funny thing that you ask about that, because I recently finally made the big professional step to join the Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA. Mostly out of a few years of just sort of sitting by and thinking I'll keep it in my back pocket and I don't want to make the leap. As it turned out, something that I wasn't even thinking about at the time when I was talking to the representatives there about, am I qualified? How do I join? How do I elevate myself to this level of professional status? turns out the first job I had that put me on the path to being eligible was in 1999, which was a specialty job on a big Hollywood movie. But at the time, I wasn't thinking about being an actor, and I wasn't even working in a creative industry at that time. I was still working what I call it, like a real job. I mean, it was in a creative industry, but the work that I was doing wasn't creative. So it was interesting that when I finally got on the phone with the people there and said, okay, I'm ready, it's time to make the change. And they basically said, we've been waiting forever.
Oh my God, that's interesting.
Because I just had I had no idea. These things are always kind of shrouded in secrecy. And, some people are big fans of SAG-AFTRA as a union for job protection and quality of life. And other people think that it prohibits them from having certain kinds of work. So, it still isn't clear to me how it all really came about, but it means that I've been on the path much longer than I had anticipated.
Amazing. Wow. Before we start our journey, William the Magic Box, I would like you to tell me something interesting about yourself.
Interesting about myself. It's funny, an actor model, a very distant acquaintance who I follow on social media, has been making a lot of posts about home improvement projects, light plumbing, painting, this kind of thing, to sort of, I don't put these things on my social media, but I have built some outdoor furniture. I've replaced the faucets in the kitchen and the bathroom and the hardware in the bathtub. I changed the grouting in the tile, of course, painting, hardware on the windows and the doors. I refinished some of the stucco finishes on the inside walls in the dining room that was damaged from some water leak. And people who know me, maybe they're close enough to me in my life, or they spend time in my home and they see these things happen. But a lot of people that I know who aren't that close in my personal life, they think maybe they think I'm a little bit fussy. I don't want to get my hands dirty, or some people think I'm lazy. Some people think I'm not smart enough. No ill will, but I'm very handy around the house.
Is your hands dirty right now?
My hands are not dirty right now because today is not the day. The weather is about to change here, and we're about to have some record-breaking cold, rain, snow. So whatever is happening outside, I'm not going to worry about it. And I repainted last year. I stopped right before Christmas, so I'm behind. I started repainting every single room inside my house to change up the color scheme. And I have one to go. And since the holiday break, I need to get back and roll up my sleeves and get it done. But, life's been busy and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Amazing. I'm just teasing you about the hands. Team, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Yes.
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. My best friend. Run of fun questions. I'm just gonna play a song now for us to relax a bit before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. I know.
Good dance. Very good dance.
During the journey, if there is a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Okay.
First question for you is, what is something not many people know about you?
That not very many people know about me. I can deadlift off the floor more than my own body weight.
You always been able to do that?
No, you have to work up to it.
Wow.
You have to work
When
up
was the
to
last time you did it?
Probably end of the year. My gym got disrupted at the holidays too, and I've been very slow to bring myself clawing back into the gym.
Okay. Next question. Let's do it. Hey, team from Los Angeles. Next question is, who is the most influential person in your life?
Yeah, that could be such a tricky one. I mean, I grew up with my aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings and grandparents. But even with all of this, warm, familiar environment, I had one grandmother, my mother's mother. She, I think, really and truly, not for any bad reason, was really the only person all of my life until she died, which was only about 5 years ago. Anything I thought about, anything I wanted to do, any idea that sparked my imagination, always, 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 she would say, yes, you can do that.
Wow.
She never would put up the roadblock of, oh, it's too hard, or, oh, you don't know anything, or, oh, this is not a good use of time. None of these things ever, ever, ever came into our relationship. She always took the position, whether I jump off the cliff or don't, or fall or fly or whatever, always, always, always greeting this with affirmative, yes, you can do or be anything. And I have to listen to that voice inside my head now because she's gone and I don't have it on the other end of the phone anymore. But it's an important reminder to just think when you're fearful or unsure or frustrated, if you can hear that voice inside of your head from somebody who said, of course, anything is possible. I think it goes a long way to uplifting and helping me get through my journey.
Wow. Saying that, when you think of her, what's the best memory that comes to your mind?
Mostly just having fun together. She was, among my grandparents, she was kind of non-traditional. Like, she wasn't a baker. She wasn't cooking the big family meals, but always time, activities, and talking about, I would pick up the phone. She lived a few hundred miles away. Well, 125 miles away most of my life. At any rate, she was a big talker, talking. And this is how things were communicated. Obviously, she didn't have to make a demonstration of some other action or a gift or something like this. She would just tell me all the time.
Oh, what was her name?
Marjorie.
Sweet.
That was Marjorie, the dearly departed Marjorie.
Oh. Next question, team. Let's do it. Let's see. Before the next question, tell me what you like the most about acting. What's the best joy of it? And also the flip side, what's the most challenging part?
Oh boy. The thing for me is being involved in something with other people. I'm not an isolationist. I don't do things by myself. I don't like to exercise by myself. I don't like to travel by myself. I don't like to eat by myself. And to me, the most interesting thing about that whole process, especially because I've worked on things that are large. It's a big TV commercial or a big TV show or a film. There's a million people involved, and I love a sense of camaraderie and collaboration. Even if there's nothing happening in the moment, which leads to the part that you don't like so much. Everybody knows they're there for a purpose. We know what the goal is. In the process, you just go through. The flip side, of course, and it's a thing that maybe you've heard from other people who work in entertainment, is a lot of waiting around. Waiting. So, especially in film and television, the work days tend to be very long, 10, 12, 14-hour long days. It's easily 50% sitting and just waiting. Because something is happening. Somebody is doing something. That's all part of the larger process of getting to the end goal. Usually I don't know because I don't need to know. Like, no one's going to report to me, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're waiting on something else. And I always had to take a moment and say, okay, just
relax.
Just let it go. Push all of the worry about what other people are doing. I don't have to worry about what other people are doing. I only have to worry about what I'm doing, which is the second best part. Aside from the collaboration, I only have to take care of myself. I am not usually in a position where I have to worry about what anybody else is doing, because taking care of me is a lot.
Next question for you is, where is the most exotic place you have ever been?
Most exotic? Oh boy. There's a couple of things. In the natural world, on a trip to Hawaii many years ago, I was traveling, which was nice for me. I was traveling with some geologists, a couple of guys who I used to know, who they teach in university, and they teach about rocks. This is their area of study, they're scientists. And they were doing research, and we had the opportunity at the Big Island to go, not only just go to the Volcano Research Center, but because they're there on an academic mission, we could put on our work boots and go into the danger zone and walk around very carefully, and you realize how vast this crater is that has the lava coming up. Literally walking on the internal part of the earth bubbling up to the ground, and the bottom of the boots melting slowly in the process. And you just start to think in a different way about the wonders and the dangers and the things that are unknown about the physical world that we live in. We spend so much time, cities, cars, roads, buildings, air conditioning, Wi-Fi, blah, blah, blah. I think it's very easy to forget that we are part of the natural world, and the natural world is exciting and dangerous and terrifying and beautiful and marvelous. And a lot of it's very kind of unknown and misunderstood. It really left a sense in my head of being just a tiny, tiny, tiny thing literally in terms of the physical globe that we live in.
Wow. And your best friends, most of them, they live in Los Angeles as well?
Mostly. I mean, the people that I'm closest to are really the people that I made friends with in college. I don't have childhood friends that I'm so close to anymore. There are a few, but really the people that I'm much, much closer to are the people that I was building relationships with as I was becoming an adult. And I went to school in California. Some of those people they transplanted here from other places in the country to go to college in California. And those that stayed, we have remained very, very close. And for me, that means, 35 years and counting with some of those people.
Wow, beautiful.
I wish I could see them more. It's not daily anymore. We're not in school. We have to work and have our lives and our families and all kinds of other things.
Absolutely. That's life. People
Yes,
come, they stay, but they stay sometimes far away from us,
right. And
unfortunately.
sometimes they don't stay for very long, and yeah, sometimes they're not very close, but they're still around.
Absolutely. Next one. Let's do it. Hey, next question is, what was your worst foot in mouth moment?
Foot in mouth?
Moments, yes.
Oh my gosh. There have probably been, I'll tell you, there have probably been a lot. Some of them can't be repeated in a in a family environment. Um, and mostly they're just stupid and embarrassing. One thing that I can say about myself that's very closely related to this issue that will show you how often this happens to me. Many people in my life, including some of these old friends, some people in my family, my spouse, have all learned over time that the way they describe it is that I will always say the most obvious thing in the moment that everybody else, of course, already knows, and therefore it doesn't need to be said. And this is how I end up with one or two of the feet into my mouth, because it's not necessarily it's not necessarily malicious or stupid or whatever, but very often everybody will just drop their fork and say, really? It happens a lot. Sometimes I'm slow to catch up with what's happening in the moment. That's when the foot goes in. That's when the foot goes in.
I can see the I can picture everyone eating, and they literally stop and go like, again.
Yes, it's my favorite way to describe, and frankly, I think it's funny when it happens in real life, and certainly it happens to me. Because socializing is often around a meal. So if there's going to be a moment where everybody is caught off guard and they're shocked or whatever, the fork drops.
Good for you. They are lucky to have you around to have those moments.
Mostly they're laughable moments. So yeah, knock on.
Next one. Let's do it, Tim. Before the next question, Tim, tell me something. Do you think Los Angeles is the place for, let's say, actors, artists, singers? It's the place to be in the US, or do you think it's kind of divided between New York City and LA?
Well, that's interesting. I think in some ways there's more here than people think, and there's also less here than people think. Over the last few decades, especially, with production costs rising and other sort of social and political issues, there's production in Toronto, and there's production in Vancouver, and there's production in Austin, and there's production in Atlanta. And there's a surprising amount of opportunities, because I know a few actors who have just said, I can't do it anymore, it's too hard. And they go and they find a smaller market, and they end up, working more. It's a fish pond. Mm-hmm. This is a very big pond, and most of us fish are tiny, tiny, tiny little fish, just trying to get by. And I think that the internet and social media and our access to information has just changed so much. I think people are living and working in all kinds of places, frankly, that are smaller, cheaper, easier. Maybe the opportunities aren't the same, but there are certainly opportunities in other places. I think acting may be a little bit trickier, mm-hmm. because it tends to be so many players involved in film and television production, especially. When you get into theater, of course, there's theater everywhere. Um, and music, I think, is a little bit easier because, it doesn't take 500 people to make an album. It takes 500 people to make a movie. So I think that probably gives people a lot more opportunity to stay home and not have to turn their entire life upside down to get focused in this one particular area. I mean, for me, it's easy because I already lived here long before the 1999, and I accidentally became a file at the Screen Actors Guild, and they were just waiting for me to do something all those years ago. So that's just because it was here. I was here. It was purely coincidental in a way. I hope that people who don't live here don't necessarily feel the pressure. I haven't tried to do it anywhere else. I haven't lived anywhere else. I visited a lot of places, but I don't want to live in New York. So fortunately, it's all here, and it's expanding quite a bit, not just in other places, but it's expanding the business is expanding a lot in California right now. There's a lot of new studios, small studios, a lot of big production facilities. New sound stages are being constructed in Los Angeles right now today, and that hadn't happened for decades. So it sort of comes and goes and ebbs and flows.
All right. Next question is, what was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
Oh my God. I was always insanely play acting as a kid, so when I finally, said to the family, like, okay, I'm closing another chapter and I'm going to transition to this new area, half the people in my family said, well, what have you been waiting for?
Wow, that's amazing.
Because not in terms of like play. I wasn't a child who would, write a play, but I was always very, world building. I mean, again, growing up here, we could be outside all the time. And I was always interested in exploring, if I was old enough to leave the house, when I was too young to go too far from the back door. I was always very interested in world building games and exercises, and just creating. There was no internet when I was a child, so if I wanted the world at my fingertips, I had to make one by myself.
And when was the moment that you realized that you were born to be an actor?
It had been in my imagination for a long time. But I'll tell you, when I had gone through a few other career paths in college and a couple of degrees, and working for a long time in strictly uncreative areas, I was very lucky. I got an agent. I got my first commercial and theatrical agent, just like that. The minute we met, they were just like, oh my gosh, yes. And that made it very easy. Not that it's an easy process, but I didn't have to do it by myself because I like collaboration. I think it's hard if people have to just plod and plod and plod and fight and work if they don't have, someone else out there to help push the process along.
Amazing. You never get anywhere alone. You need some people to fly with you, to kind of, get things together. It's always like that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're social animals. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of people think, we think independence is a strong quality. And of course it is. People have to be self-motivated, and people have to be assured of themselves, and they have to have ideas and motivations. But, none of us are alone.
Absolutely. Another question?
Another question.
Let's do it. Next question is, what makes you most uncomfortable about yourself?
Oh boy. That's so hard. And it's interesting because I've gained, so much. I mean, I don't want this to come out the wrong way. I've gained so much just poise and confidence and ease in myself. Let me tell you, when I was 12 and I was the tallest, skinniest, most awkward boy in 6th grade who didn't play sports, I always just was like, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. Which was very much in conflict with being a talker and having certain leadership abilities and, appreciating collaboration and interaction. There are all kinds of standards of beauty that apply to women, and there are standards of beauty that apply to men. And it took me until I was in my 40s before I was finally feeling okay about, this physical bag of meat that I live inside and have had to come to terms with, I don't mean to sound like I'm too inside my head or like I'm not aware of what's happening in the world, but everybody has their issues. That was always mine. My best friend growing up through end of middle school and into high school, literally his favorite nickname for me was String Bean. You know what a string bean is?
No?
Yeah, well, in the UK and in Europe, there are different. In America, we have these green bean pods, and they're similar to the little precious French ones that you probably see in the UK, but we have much longer ones, and it's a very regional, it's very popular in Southern and Midwestern cuisine in America. At any rate, it's a long, skinny, and it's just a long and skinny. And he loved me being long and skinny. I hated it. He was captain of the football team, and I was not. He was not long and skinny. And an athletic boy, and I was like a thin line. We were friends anyways.
When was the turn point that you realized that being skinny was actually a positive thing? That you go like, okay, actually, the way I look, it's something that I like, and something that's, it's me. It's something powerful and beautiful, and that's me. There was a moment.
Not necessarily a moment, but trying to work as a model and an actor, everything is beauty, everything is presentation, everything is, sex appeal and blah, 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 blah. And it took me a very long time to figure out that there's a little zone over here where people really appreciate a middle-aged man who is tall and thin. Sometimes that works against me, but as I get older, I appreciate that I have to find my audience, and that there is one, and I don't have to worry about the ones who over here who, they can be a football fan. I don't care. I'm just not going to worry about them. And it really came with age, in part because I haven't put on age or COVID weight, and I haven't lost my hair. So it's turning into a nice thing as I get older, because I'm not, purely accidentally, by the way, this is purely an accident. It's just an accident that I'm not turned to round and bald. No offense intended. It's just like, it could have gone the other way. But so it became an asset.
Great. 3 questions left for you, Tim. Let's do it.
Goodness. Okay.
Next question is, what is the scary thing that happened to you?
About 20 years ago, I got very sick, like go to the hospital sick so they could figure out what kind of terrible bacterial disease that I had in the moment. And it wasn't so much like, I don't think I was going to die. I don't think anyone thought that I was going to die, but it put me in a space where literally every single thing I ever did or thought, and every plan or dream or aspiration, just in that moment, everything was gone. No control, no, no assurances that that tomorrow would be the same as today. And that really sort of psychologically didn't so much become sort of a reminder that you have to not take things for granted, and you have to make sure that you take care of business and don't wait till tomorrow, blah 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 blah. But it was a realization that no matter what I did, again, going back to the idea that we live in the world and there's a lot of things going on, that life is very complicated, that I have no control over anything. None. Especially when it comes to other people, or events. You can get struck by lightning out of nowhere. You can get hit by a bus out of nowhere. People get cancer and die even though they never smoke and they never drank. We have to remember to, like, hang on and get things done, because everything could go away and you just never know.
Yeah, just remember that we are vulnerable. Yeah, it can happen any time.
In so many ways. And it could, economic changes. I mean, it's like so many ways. People don't realize, like, this is not in your control. None of it is.
2 questions left. Let's do it. Before the next question, I have one question in 2 parts. Yeah. Okay. The first part of the question is, when you, of course, watching, big productions like movies that's been on, like that you enjoyed a lot. Tell me one of those movies that you saw that you go like, you know what? I wish I could have played that role. You know what I mean? I could be in that, just because you admire the movie or the character. One of your favorite movies that you go like, you know what? I wish I would have played that role, or if I would be there or whatever. The second part is, who, if you have the let's say the superpower now to work in a project where you could work with someone that you have the biggest budget, you could pay anyone to work with you, along with you, in a project. You could choose anyone. Who that would be?
Yeah. Well, the first half is not. Not necessarily one thing in particular, but I have grown. I'm growing into an interesting space where I can be a bad guy who also does good things, or a good guy who does bad things. I think I'm sort of inching my way into a little niche where I will play more and more roles that are what we call character roles. Betty Davis was always famous for describing herself as a character actress. There had to be a age or a wig or an accent or something particular to it. Jack Nicholson was, always playing himself, but like a villain or a curmudgeon or some kind of a crank. And I love those zones where actors are able to be complicated and flawed and we may love happy endings, but we also really love when people behave badly and do bad things, and then they get what's coming to them in the end. Um, so I'm sort of tiptoeing around in that zone. I mean, even in non-speaking things, when I was first working a lot um, several years back, I did a whole bunch of um, super low budget crime recreation shows that run in America like crazy. There's a million of them. And I was booked like a million times, like to play the guy who beat on his wife, or to play the guy who killed his brother, or to play on the guy who beat his children, or to play on the guy who came and shot the lady who lived next door to him because her dog was barking too much. Um, because there was somewhere in there, drug dealers, um, somewhere in there. I played a bomber once. And of course, even in scripted things, I'm tiptoeing more and more into um, doing bad things, but without being a classic bad guy. And I never say that I've worked with big people because I haven't done any notable role. I've been on sets with bazillions of big people. I've been on sets where the director is actually choosing who's going to be in the front and who's going to be in the back. And once in a while, they put me in the front. The first thing that I worked on a million years ago that put me onto the radar of SAG-AFTRA when I wasn't even thinking about being an actor. It was a film directed by a director who's gone now, was named John Schlesinger. He was very, very famous for many decades, late in the 20th century. Like he handpicked me like face to face to do something very particular. And I was just like, oh, look at me. Even though at the end of the day, it really wasn't anything. It didn't really make that much difference. But I'll tell you, because the medium is expanding so much, film and television, there's so many streaming services and there are so many people because technology is cheaper and easier. So many people, I have worked with a couple people recently who are they're this close to finally like getting. And I hope that those people make it and that they will remember to bring me along with them because, they're more experienced than me. They're smarter than me. They've done more things than I have done. But I was there working for free on little shows that are sneaking their way into bigger audiences. So that's what I would like to see. We don't need the same 25 world famous people who get nominated for Oscars over and over and over again. For every one of those people, there's like 100,000 other people who are writing really interesting stories and really want to make good projects. And those are the people who need the money, because even though I've been a writer and a producer, that's not my primary ambition. I really want people to succeed and then hire me to work with them.
The message is out there, okay?
Yes. To the universe, please help out everybody that I've helped out and who likes working with me so that we can all work together more.
Amazing. Next question is, what is one movie you could watch over and over again?
Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of movies that I do watch over and over again. I've seen Jaws like 117 times. I just think it's almost flawlessly crafted down to the last little bit. I recently, and this is a little bit, it can be controversial. I recently, just because I was like, I need to just settle and not think too much, but I want to put something on. I watched Gone with the Wind over again, which I hadn't watched in quite a long time. And it's surrounded with controversy, but there are so many interesting things about it. I'm a big fan of movies from a certain time period. I think American Graffiti is so exquisitely beautiful. I've watched Godfather like 99 times, and I'm so interested in watching the nuances and the tones of voice and all the moments that happen along the way when you know that people are thinking about something, or thinking about doing something, or they're thinking they're interacting with somebody else, but they're not talking. Um, I'm very, very interested in all those quiet things that happen, especially in some of these big, long. There's a beautiful little bit that I, anytime somebody says something about Jaws, there's a beautiful little bit, because my favorite part is early on when the Roy Scheider character is first faced with this burden of this terrible thing, and how is he, he basically needs to save the world, right? The world of his little town that's only this big. He has to save it. And it's really weighing on him, and he's sitting at the table and he doesn't know what to do. And the little child, the boy who played the younger son, doesn't speak very much in the film, but they're sitting at the table and talking, and the little boy starts mimicking Roy Scheider's facial expressions and what he does with his hands. And they're not talking to each other, but they're so deeply, and I think it's particularly magical because that kid was like 5 years old at the time. Like he can't consciously act like an adult can. And I just think it's such a magical moment of the tiniest little intimacy that you see on the camera. And stuff like that just makes me crazy all the time. I like things to slow down and be quiet so you can actually see and feel what's happening with these people. And I think sometimes when things are too, like me, talking too much, you don't know what that is. You don't have a chance to really grab it because it takes a minute.
We spread too much information sometimes, and when you talk a lot, I'm the same as well. When I find myself talking, and you give away such much information that you go like, my goodness, I kind of get lost in our thoughts. Understand?
It's nice to sit still just for a couple of seconds.
Let's try you and me.
All right, yeah.
It's difficult.
It's difficult. If we were in person, we could have a coffee and we could just let the thought linger for a minute.
Ready for the last question?
Yes.
Let's do it. Last one. Before the last question, people watching the interview right now, they would like to start a career in acting, and some things holding them back for some reason. They don't feel confident enough, or something. It's not, doesn't feel right for some reason. What would be your best piece of advice?
I think there's a million pieces of advice. I think the most foundational thing, it's just me, but I think the most foundational thing is don't quit. Things may be hard. You may feel like you're against a wall. You might feel like you're treading water, or something's not happening, or there's a million things, right? But you still have to keep going, because maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be next year. Maybe it'll be in 10 years. There's a very famous actor whose name and picture came up in a documentary recently. The first on-camera role he did was a background player. He didn't have dialogue. He's physically in the scene doing some action, but not speaking. No screen credit, nothing. 20 years passed.
Wow.
He finally got the job to say the dialogue on camera. And now he's famous. So if he had stopped, it never would have happened. And I have to remind myself that all the time. Work is very slow at the moment. So I talk to you instead. Here we are talking, camera, lights, the whole thing. Right? My lights look good. My space looks good, right? So I I could keep working on that. I just never stop. Unless you just decide you really and truly don't want to do it. Fine. Do whatever you want. Somebody has to be an astronaut or a donut baker or a dog walker or a fourth grade teacher. I don't know. People have to do all kinds of things. But it's a long. And if you stop, it will never happen. Guaranteed.
Very good. Last question for you is, what was your favorite part about school? In your best British accent. Joking.
If only I knew how to do accents. It's a long list of famous people who can do accents, and it's not something that I have ever really spent much time with. But it may be one thing that I have to add in. I played British. Yeah, how do I explain this? A college friend that I was spending time with at the time, in some social situation, thought it would be hilarious to introduce me to another person as British and as so rich and famous that I was living under a false identity. And so it turned into this long meandering Q&A because the other person really wanted to know, well, who and what and where are you from? But they wanted to solve the mystery. And A, because it was fake, and B, because we just wanted to keep the game going. I had to divulge certain, because I knew names of schools, and I knew names of, I knew, could say, oh, well, my parents keep a house in Mayfair, because I was pretending to be English and rich.
Very posh.
But then I had to have an explanation as to why I didn't have an accent, because I couldn't do the accent. It just would have ruined the whole thing if I had tried to do an accent and it was fake. But that person believed, like, as soon as I said Mayfair, they were like, oh, because Mayfair is this big. Like, they thought maybe I was telling the truth.
I know that. I live in Mayfair, so I know that. I wish.
There you are. Okay.
I wish. One day, Tim. One day.
Marry money. This is my other advice to people who are struggling to be actors. Marry money. Let someone else pay the bills, and then you can focus on your thing. So you should do it too.
So tell me, what was your favorite part about school?
It's funny. I was always like the laziest student in the world. I went to a residential college. We lived in dormitories. It's it's a small community, but it's a world inside of a bubble. And my lifelong friendships came from that. And I was a lazy B- student, mostly competing against geniuses at every turn. But at the same time, the whole thing, it was all about community and collaboration. The whole thing, every classroom experience and living in dormitories and sharing a garden and student governance and everything was about community and collaboration all the way back to then. And it was the most magical part of my life until now.
Okay, so the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking.
Yes.
So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game.
Yes.
Let's start with friendship.
Love.
Fear.
Death.
Religion.
God.
Politics.
Lies.
Love.
Life.
Money.
Stuff.
Sex.
Love.
Life.
Joy.
Desire.
Mm. Fear.
Regret.
Sorrow.
One word for success.
One word. Oh, that's so hard. Can I give you a phrase instead?
Yes, you can.
So an ism, I tell people all the time, and not just actors, but people doing all kinds of things that are self-motivated that they do that's like separate from work maybe. If you do the thing, you are the thing. I could, I don't have to be Brad Pitt to be an actor. You don't have to be James Cromwell to be a novelist. You don't have to be Julia Child to be a chef. Maybe nobody knows what you're doing. Maybe nobody sees what you're doing. But if you do it, there it is. And I think that is success. A famous actor is successful, but I think a working actor is in some ways more successful. To just be able to keep going.
Amazing.
That's a sign of success.
Wish.
Sorry?
Wish.
Wish. Lately, I've been wishing for more work. It's just very slow at the moment. I don't wish for anything. My life is so full and so good, and I'm so lucky. And I like I said a minute ago, I wish for other people to be successful because I don't want to have to I don't want to have to write a movie for myself. I want some other brilliant person to have the opportunity to write a movie and then ask me to do it. You know what I mean? I wish all the best for other people. I think there's no end of success to be had. I think it's an endless well. I think everyone can have it.
One word for happiness.
Peace.
One word for Los Angeles.
Home.
How about USA? One word.
Ugh. That's a tricky one. Potential.
And the last one now, acting. One word.
Playing.
Amazing.
Let's pretend now. It's not curing cancer. It's just playing.
Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your best friend for a coffee, and I'm going to ask your best friends, what is the most beautiful thing about him, and what's something that he still needs to work on, to improve on? What your best friend would say?
Oh my God. Yes. One person in particular would say that he really admires my capacity just to love people. I don't mean necessarily falling in love, but he might say that too. I'm open. I'm interested in other people. This person would describe himself as curmudgeonly, and he doesn't want to make new friends. He has plenty of friends. But I think he admires in me that I can strike up a friendship very easily. He would also say that I'm too hard on myself. That's not quite it. He would love for me to follow through and be more disciplined.
Okay.
I think of myself as lazy. I assume other people think I'm lazy too.
Let's play now, Tim, and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. You can ask me a question now, Tim.
Yeah. I'm so I don't know how to phrase it into a question. I'm so interested in your life and your work and being so far from your original home. there's something happening there, and I don't know what it is. I think one of them feeds the other one. You know, sometimes people, you know, they move across the world for a job, or sometimes they find happiness when they have a change of scenery. I don't know, but there's something happening in your life.
Wow. Wow, I love your statement you just did now. Your wonder, let's say. I love that. And I'll tell you the first thing that came to my mind is interesting. When I'm originally from Brazil, yeah. I come from a very simple, genuine family, where, let's say, I didn't have much opportunities as a child, and but at the same time as well, I had parents that they let me be myself always. They were there for me somehow, and they always they just I was I I was very lucky as a child, because even though I didn't have much, things, but at the same time as well, my parents, they were like, you know what, one day you're gonna follow your dreams, you're gonna do things. You just need to be patient. You just need to always believe. And growing up, I always had this mentality of, I remember when I was 12 years old, when I started studying English, I remember seeing those books with Big Ben, Eiffel Tower, those places in the world.
Right.
And my eyes were just like shining, thinking, wondering how they look like in real life. How was, living abroad, this and that. So I was very curious. I always been very curious, very, trying to get a better life for myself, for my parents, for family, everyone. I always had this adventure spirit of, learn to grow as a person, and, get to see the world. 19 years old, I had the opportunity to go to Portugal, and since then, I haven't stopped. I've been living in Europe since I was 19 years old. And back to your question, I think the thing that moves me, Tim, it's curiosity. It's about always believing that you can do anything. You literally can, if you believe it, if you go after whatever you feel like. But if you just need to understand that things not easy. Nothing comes easy. Things comes, and you just need, as you said before, you just need to keep going, and always believe as well. It might take a lifetime. It might take, as you said, a day or a week or a year. But if you keep going, being yourself, follow your instinct, your intuition, follow your passion, your heart, whatever feels right for you, just keep going, And the world out there, there are a lot of things that maybe you go like, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Yeah. So, my goodness. So yeah, so all those these emotions and feelings that this 19 years old boy back in Brazil, I knew there was a world out there that's
Right.
waiting for me somehow, somewhere. And but I need to, to find it. I could just and I will one day. I will write a book just for me. The 1 year before I moved to Europe, just how I put everything together, to get the money for the plane tickets, to pay my rent.
Right.
I would like to write that, because when I look back, I go like, my goodness, how can you do it? It look impossible. When I look back, I say, my God, it was impossible looking other eyes. But it was impossible in some eyes, but it can happen. You can make it. You can make it.
Well, and
So
the important thing is, yeah, you weren't going to go, from there to where you are now in one. That's not how it works.
No, 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 no.
A little, and then a little, and then a little, right? And all the little bits, they add up, and it takes a form and a new shape,
Yeah.
and suddenly you've crossed the Atlantic Ocean and crossed the equator and all kinds of things, but only one step at a time.
Even the show I'm doing right now, the Magic Box, it's, when I think about it, if I would do that like 10 years ago, I don't think I would enjoy the most I'm enjoying right now. I need to have those experiences in life to get this moment right now. So I think everything counts. You just need to keep going, nothing nothing comes easy. If it comes easy, you should wonder why that. You know what I mean? Like things come easier. When things is difficult to come, is because it's going the right direction. That's what I think as well. Thanks for making me go back my memories.
That's fantastic. I love your answer.
Thank you. Tim, did you enjoy the interview?
Very much. Best part of my day.
Oh, thank you so much for being so kind and accept my invitation as well. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Before you go, if you can share a positive message, something that you live by.
So, someone who was a mentor to me in college, he was famous in that community just for having, he always had like the best outlook. He always was having a good day. Nothing ever seemed to get him down. And he certainly didn't want other people, especially, to feel like something was getting them down, or that it wasn't working, or that they were failing in some way. And I laugh about it now because I don't know if he made up this saying, but I say it to people and they probably laugh at me and they think I'm crazy. But he literally would say, when he met someone new at a party, at a speaking engagement, whatever, today is the first day of the rest of your life.
It's interesting. Wow.
From right now, in this moment, your whole life is ahead of you right now. So what are you going to do? The past is gone. Whatever happened yesterday, it's gone. It's over. Doesn't exist anymore. Mostly. I mean, obviously there are many violations of the rules, but every single day, there it is. Your whole life is ahead of you still.
Wow.
And I think it's an interesting notion. We're not just being dragged along on a hook, on a line.
I like that, actually. I really like that. Wow.
I don't know if he is the originator of this phrase, and I try to give him credit whenever I can, but I think it's an important thought, because the sun came up today here. I assume the sun came up for you there. And look, all of human history in your entire life is in front of you.
Let's leave it then. Let's leave it. Tim, thanks so much for the interview. It was a pleasure, and you keep in touch, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, William. It was a great pleasure to speak with you.
You too. Take care, okay? Good night. Bye.
Good night.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.